Hey everybody, this is Paul and Ashlee here recording another video on all things Audit App. How long has it been since we did the last one?
It's been quite a while. I'm not sure exactly how long.
A year maybe? I don't know, something like that.
We got a lot of fun new features though in that time.
Yes, indeed. So we're going to give you a preview to what's coming, and the intent here, really, this shows you just what you can do with the Power Platform, really. And so we're going to jump on the laptop, share the screen, and pretty much go through all things Audit App for you.
Another important thing to note, if you do want a copy of the Audit App, it's not something that is currently a free download or anything. It is a product of Seven Sigma. So you would have to get in contact with us and we'll talk about what we can do.
Cool. And we will post-edit the get in contact thing like those professional videos.
You don't have to say that we're going to do it. We're just going to do it. Now that you've said that, it's not professional anymore.
Well, such is life. All right, so we've just jumped into the audit app that people in the field use to go and collect stuff. And at this point, it's worth mentioning that although we're going to show you, I guess, question-based audits and another example, we actually have lots of different audit types. So those of you in the industry, particularly safety, would be familiar with like NCR for non-conformance report, incidents and things like that. We cover those. And the whole point of this audit app is if an organization has a particular use case, a particular audit type that's unique to their industry, it's easy for us to add it to this. But anyway, let's use the COVID one as our example. We'll click on COVID inspection checklist. And in this particular example of the app that we're doing, you specify the region and the team you're in and a project. And we should say at this point, various organizations ask for different things here. So sometimes it's GPS coordinates, sometimes it's like a asset number, sometimes it's a job number, right?
Yeah.
It depends.
It can get very specific or very broad. So
Yeah.
we're showing a very broad view of it.
Yeah. This is the screen that I think probably changes more than any other one, is that first piece after selecting one. And we're coming into an audit now which has a number of questions divided up into categories. So you can see here that we have 0 of 13 questions answered and we have 0 of 4 categories completed. And so here's the categories: process and procedures, management committee, and just some random data ones. That's just us playing about. But the point is, everything you see here is data driven. We're going to show you an app later on where you as an administrator or an owner of safety or an owner of quality can pretty much change these categories, add more, and do lots of flexible stuff. But the point is, first thing, if I click on this category, it goes to the next screen and straight up you can see the questions that we're asking users to answer. And PowerApps people might automatically look at this and go, well, that's interesting, because you can see that we have different question types. That's the point here. So the first one here is actually called a variance question type, which is like recording weights or
for
voltages.
Any numerical value that you want the answer, like the good answer is within a certain range.
Yeah.
So it would be, a certain voltage needs to be within this range. If it's too big, there's a concern there. If it's too small, there's a concern there.
Yeah. So for example, like that's 143 is the lower end, some big figures are the upper end. So if I put 200 in and sort of click out of there, we get a happy green color because basically we're within the range.
But if you put 5...
Yeah, if I do then...
Or 100, yeah.
And so, but we have a look at this next question. This is an interesting one because this is one that you spent a bit of time on, Ashlee. This is it's a button question.
Yeah.
And we actually support lots of different button configurations.
We support 2 buttons, 3 buttons, and 4 buttons. Any more than that, we just automate it to be a drop down instead.
Yep.
Because honestly, if you have more than 4 options that you're trying to fit into buttons, that's not going to work. There's just not feasibly enough space on a phone screen to fit 50 options in a row.
Yeah, notwithstanding that if you're wearing gloves, because the user interface here is designed for PPE anyway, so you're wearing gloves, then even 4 buttons starts to get squeezy, right?
4 buttons is okay if it's very small words such as, okay, not applicable, or something else that can fit in, and that's 4 is about the limit to what you can click before it gets difficult.
And you can see here, so okay is a pass, so that's happy. Not okay is a fail, so it's not happy, and they're not applicable. So if you don't want not applicable, you just do a 2-button question. But the interesting thing about this question also is it's mandatory that you have to take a photo with it. And so that's why you get a little star there with the camera, and it automatically opens up to the camera. And it also asks for action tracking. So we have action tracking support in the audit, but this is entirely optional. It depends on the audit when you set it up in the first place, which we'll show very soon. So if I just quickly or simulate taking a photo, I'll just grab some random image. I shall use our company logo. That works. That was that wasn't actually the intent, but anyway, there we go. So, company logo. We've taken a picture. You can say that this was the before shot, because you might have taken a photo before and quickly fixed something, and you can do markup. So you can click and you can draw on this to point out if there's certain areas of concern. So we also capture latitude, longitude, and weather, particularly some use cases when you're outside. Weather conditions actually can determine if you're going to pass or fail something.
Yeah.
I think we had a client where it was like parks, and if there's lightning, you're not about to open up the facilities on the park because safety issues. But you can see there we've answered question 2. You can see that 2 of 7 questions have been answered, and we keep working through. Here's another button question, but the interesting thing here is we've just proven that we can change the default values of the buttons. So instead of the default of OK, not OK, NA, we just put some random things in there. But the same principle applies. Pass, fail. If it's a fail, take a photo. If it's a pass, you don't have to take a photo, and you can toggle whether you want to see that. The next one's interesting because this also shows questions that have additional information, and this is quite useful in like ISO standards and stuff where there's like a standard that you're adhering to, because that means the user can just press the little info icon, and then you've got like a pop-up which gives them a bit more context to the question to ensure that they're answering it appropriately.
It also helps if there's specific information about a question that's, assumed knowledge for everyone.
Yeah, totally.
So the things that you would normally verbally pass on with each other, oh, well, actually with this one, you do want to check this and this and this.
Yep.
That can be put into the information just to make sure that everyone's on the same page.
Yep. So we can go, pass, that one's similar, pass. And here's another variance question. So let's just put our variance in. I'll make it a passing variance. Okay, cool. So we click tick and we're done. So you can immediately see that we're back at the category screen. It's showing you that it's green in terms of passed. Therefore, we've completed this one, 7 of 7, and we took 1 photo. So we can always go back in there, but let's now move on to the next one. Now let's talk about markers NA really quick, because there's 2 questions here and it says markers NA. And here's the deal. If I just open up and show you, all of these are button questions, right? And they all have an NA, which basically the idea is you might choose that this doesn't apply to this particular audit, so you can go, mark them all as NA.
Yeah, for example, this one says management committee. If, for example, maybe your organization does not need or have a management committee, you would just mark it all as NA, because there's no point going into the category, especially if it's one with maybe, 10, 15 questions. You don't want to have to sit there and mark each question as not applicable if you know straight up that the entire category is just going to be kind of written off as, no, that's not necessary.
Now, the interesting one, this one down here, C11, this random one we've done, that doesn't have markers NA, and the reason for that is, guess what? It's a 2-button question, not a 3-button question, and it doesn't have NA. So therefore, basically, depending on how you configure this thing, you either must do this one, or maybe it's not necessary, and we'll show you how that's done, because that's a per audit thing. But the key thing is the markers NA depends on whether NA is available as an option in the question.
You essentially can't mark everything as not applicable if everything cannot be marked as not applicable. Yeah. If the option for non-applicable isn't there, you're not going to mark it as that.
Yeah. Now, this audit has been set up that you have to answer all questions. So at the moment, we can't progress. We've got to keep going. So we're going to come into this one, C beta, and I'm going to click markers NA again, but I want to just point out something. This one comes up and it goes, well, 2 of 3 have done. This is in progress, and we've got the yellow bar. And what's the deal with that? Well, it turns out that, 2 of them are NA, but 1 isn't. And in fact, this is another variance question, but this is just sample data, so we haven't put the data range in. And what that means is no matter what I put in, it's going to get upset because it doesn't have an upper and lower limit. But that's okay. We've captured some data here. So now when I click tick, we've completed everything. And look, now we can progress to the next stage. Let's actually go back and assign an action just quickly on one. So let's come back into this one and let's come in and go, actually this one here, there was an issue. So I click on this clipboard icon and now I can say action is do something I'll assign it to, by the way, if you're on the internet or on the network, you can find an account. Otherwise, it'll let you just type something in offline. We didn't mention, actually, the big selling point of this app is everything you see so far and more works with no internet. It's designed specifically for offline scenarios. So very much a lot of investment's been made into that area.
As long as you've opened it up once online, you can do the rest offline.
Okay, so let's go next. And at this point it says, well, you took a photo, would you like to review the photo? So this is where you get to check your photo, you can add some more comments. You might have taken a few photos and you decide the one you want to keep. Let's keep going. And by the way, what you see on these subsequent screens depends on a couple of things. It depends on whether you took photos, whether you assign actions, as well as some of the parameters when you first set up the audit, like how the administrator has set things up. So at this point, we could edit this action that we did just earlier, and we can add new actions. And the idea there is, I suppose, you can do that action there was done specifically against a question, but you might get to the end of the audit, and based on the full results of what you've done, you go, cool, let's add some more actions at this point. We've also integrated this with Planner and emails and flow approvals, and pretty much anything Power Automate can do, we can wire this sort of stuff up. So it's quite useful for integrating it to other systems. If I click next, this particular audit asks you to, this is like Uber for audits, I suppose, right? Because there are scenarios where you want to rate the quality of the work. Right, you've done an audit and your scenario might need, I want to rate the contractor as the inspector. If you want some assistance or some insight as to what to choose, if you click info, we even have a little pop-up, and everything you see here is data driven. You get to set what this is. And so at the moment, that's just generic data, but you can see that we'd understand, above standard. I think, yep, that's not bad. We've got the above standard, did well, nice work. Cool. Click next, and we're finally at the submit screen, and it will come up and it'll say you have completed all your questions. We had one non-conformance. Would you like to submit? And this is the bit where if there's no internet, it pretty much changes this slightly because it saves it to the phone, and it will save it to your phone and it'll persist it on the phone. If you close the app and open it up, you'll be able to retrieve this and review it before you submit it, like when the internet comes back online. So we've got clients that use these apps in very remote locations, like exploration, where they're in the middle of nowhere and they're just drilling and there's just no infrastructure. But in this case, we are online. So if I click next, it has a little think, and all of that data has been sent to the data source, and we're back to the Audit app. So that's the basic high-level gist of the Audit app, and that demonstrates flexible questions, different colors, built for PPE, works for offline, and stuff like that.
Photos, actions.
Yep.
All of those things, the ability to mark things as required.
Yep.
The ability to say that all questions have to be answered.
Yep. And then individual questions, you can do things like you must put a comment on this question. And we have a question type for photo. It's just, the question is take a photo so that someone else can review it later.
Yeah.
So lots of stuff there. What I will also go and show you is just that's just one audit type. We actually have 4 audit, scenarios, if you like. So what we just covered was structured questions.
Yeah.
If I go down to, say, Nathan, one of our colleagues, he made test observation. So check this experience. This is a little different. I go to do an observation, and I actually come to quite a different screen. And it says, okay, who are you? Now, here's the intent here, by the way, folks. Organizations will always tailor this particular screen to their needs a little bit, but this is provided for common scenarios that we see across all the different clients we work with. So we might come up and go, I'm in this certain division. It's picked up my site name and my location from the previous screen, and I observed Ash and Paul doing a demo. That's what I observed.
It's not a demo without a Paul typo.
Oh yeah. There we go. So I click next, and it goes, cool. So what did we observe? And so let's say Ashlee has great posture today. This is a safety scenario, by the way, folks. So because you basically go, so what category is this? we'll put this in terms of, look, posture.
Posture and
Check
position.
it out. You've already there, sorted. And so that is a safe practice that you did, and we'll give that a severity too. And at this point, we've captured the observation, and we can take a photo then and there with all of the markup capability that you saw earlier.
So that would, for example, be a picture of me sitting with great posture.
Yeah, if I had a camera
Maybe an
right
arrow
now,
pointing at
I
my
would-
back.
I would do it if I had if the phone wasn't on the tripod right now filming us. Okay, but here's the other thing. However, Paul did a typo. And so that category is what do you reckon? Plant tools, equipment, work
I'd say
procedure?
work procedure.
It's a work procedure, and that was an unsafe act. And that's a severity 1, because Paul sometimes writes things that has zero meaning to anybody else and invalidates what he's trying to say.
Honestly, sometimes he writes things that have zero meaning to him.
Yeah, it is true. Okay, so this is, I suppose before we get to the next screen, this is a classification where instead of having structured questions that you answer, you don't know in advance what you're going to be doing. So it's all about observation actions. So if I go to the next screen, now we can do something like, what's the action? Take a touch typing course, right? Paul can do that. In fact, no, maybe Terry can be the person that ensures that Paul does this. And this were related to the Paul did a typo observation, and I can add that action, and I could also do photos. Similar to the other audit at this point, I click next and I can submit it. So that's the basic gist of the audit app. It truly is a Swiss Army knife tool that is able to do very structured audits, handle unstructured or semi-structured scenarios, as well as a lot of other common scenarios that you would see in the safety world.
I would also point out that this screen here, you can see this screen just has every audit kind of listed. Now, this is one option for the type of screen that we can do on startup. So some clients prefer to have just one list of their audits or inspections that they have. So, for example, this one. But some prefer to have it sorted by category. So there is another screen that we can use where you select, what type of audit am I doing? Am I doing a regular audit? Am I doing an observation audit? These sort of things.
Or quality related.
Or health related.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And the other one actually related to that is we can even integrate with systems like with Dynamics Field Service, where we list a bunch of jobs. And so it's not even about the audit type. That was determined by the job. So you just have a screen where, imagine this screen where it's like, here's the jobs for this person.
Yeah.
And you click the job and boom, it happens to be a certain type of observation.
You could have a screen where it says, hey, choose which business unit you're in.
Exactly.
Choose which team you're on. Choose the project that you're working on. Here are the ones that you need to do.
Now, this brings us on to the management side of this, because we've actually spent a lot of time and invested, and we've got some cool features these days. If you've ever watched our previous video, the Audit Manager was an ugly tool, to put it bluntly.
It worked.
It was sad.
It worked. It wasn't good. I'm not even sure I can say it wasn't bad. I mean, it did what it needed to do.
Yes.
Is basically the best way to put it.
But it's the sort of app that only a mother could love. It was not
I don't even know if we really loved it.
True, because your mother did not love it, and she was the one that made this.
I think all of us got a little bit sad looking at it, but...
So now let me take you through a scenario. So this is the Audit Manager tool, okay? And this allows the owners of, say, a HSE function or a particular audit or a compliance part of the business to be able to come in and manage audits over time. And it has some nice capabilities now. So for example, first and foremost, let's just go through the process of making an audit. So if I go to the bottom here, we have the Audit Builder Wizard. And this allows us to, so I'll click next, and check out how quickly I can build an audit with a whole bunch of questions. So first up, the audit is demo for the world. That's the audit we're going to build. And we could give it a nice description at this point. But to what Ashlee was talking about, we can group this into existing categories of audits. So for example, we'll go, this one's an asset management audit, but I could define a new category at this point and I can do it elsewhere in the app. Audit type relates to these broad classifications of audit. So we just showed you audit, that was the first demo we did, and we showed you observation, that was the second demo we did. So the point is, we can define additional audit types. we're just going to go through an audit for now. But this is the key. If someone comes to us from an industry or a discipline that we don't know or haven't done before, we can add very easily additional screens and additional ability to capture within that one app.
If you have a very specific use case where you need a very certain type of audit that somehow doesn't fit into any of those types, we can add a new one.
You can also set an audit owner, which is for governance reasons. So some organizations, particularly like ISO and some of the standards-based ones, if you're going to change something in the audit, it needs to go through an approval. So we've got all of the plumbing to handle that. We don't actually implement the approval flows by default because most organizations don't want it. It tends to be it's an industry-specific thing. Some industries are very compliance-driven and others, it's all about accuracy of data capture, so they don't need that. But here are some of the then capabilities. So do I want to just see all the questions together, or do I want to split them by category? And that was what you saw earlier in our first demo.
The one we showed you first up, they were split by categories. Instead of going straight to questions, you went to that screen that had the list of categories where you had the option to, mark all as not applicable and all that sort of thing. Sometimes your audit only has 5 questions, and it does not make sense to split it into categories if you only have one category.
So let's put categories on, and let's also put action tracking on. That brings up that little clipboard icon you saw earlier, but we have another setting that says actually if there's a non-conformance, it's mandatory that you have to put an action in. So we had a client that asked that. You can see here I can mark all questions as mandatory. I can basically say show comment on everything. That was that star rating. That's the Uber feature. I'll leave that one off for now.
I do love that you call it Uber, even though there are plenty of other situations where you rate things.
I only rate Uber drivers.
You 21st century man.
So if and the other one is like if you want like signature, like sign off. So I'll turn that one on this time. And then we might go, something, I also want to email this completed audit to someone. And I can go, cool, let's email it to the person who is doing the audit. That's one option, and we'll have it as a PDF. But we can also go, and while you're there, can you also email it to this particular person or this particular email alias that could be sending it to somewhere else? But the point is, I can then add additional folks in here.
Yeah. So you could have, a certain list of people who, on completion of the audit, they need to see it or they need a copy of it.
Yep.
They can just be added to that list. Also, there's the option to send it as HTML or PDF.
Yep.
Depends.
You can also deactivate them too if you want to take an audit off, just for like editing purposes or while you're in development. And then there's a mode where you can use the audit app where you see the inactive ones for like testing. But if I go next, now it comes up to the questions and categories. And actually, I think this is a really great screen. And the full credit goes to Terry here, who is the other Culmsee that you don't necessarily hear about in the Power Platform world, but she is also pretty good at this stuff as well. So here's the idea. I go, all right, we need a category. Is it a new category? Is it an existing category? And in this case, we're going to go, actually, it's an existing category.
Yeah, let's take a look through the existing ones before we try to add something new.
Yeah. And it turns out that it's actually process and procedures is exactly what we need to test here. So we choose that category, and now we have it locked in. Now we add questions. So, and this is the thing. This is the key new enhancement. We have question reuse now. We had so many scenarios where clients would say audit different vehicle types. And there's a different audit for each vehicle because like a heavy truck is different to an SUV or something like that.
A forklift is going to be different to a regular car.
But hey, they still have wheels.
Yep, still going to need to check the wheels. Still going to check the engine.
Yeah, so now you can come in here and go, so process and procedures. So let's look at the existing questions. And let's search for, I'll search for the word process. No, what else? Oh, this will do. Procedure. So I'll say we'll have that question, that question, that question, and that question. Booyah, in they are. You can even see their question types in here. I can change the order of them so that, and this is a per audit thing. So I'm happy with that. Now let's go and add another category, and we'll use an existing category again, but then we'll make a new question.
I think we should do Cat 1.
Cat 1, yeah, that was one of yours, wasn't it?
Of course it was.
Yeah, okay. So we're going to do the cat category. We're going to do a cat inspection. So now when we come to question, let's do a new question. And now this is where you get to be specific on the questions. And there's some neat features here too. So is the cat content? I don't know, what's our question for the cat? Is the cat a cat?
Is the cat a cat?
Okay.
What makes a cat a cat?
Yes. So we can say, Must have a photo of the cat.
Yeah, that would help.
This is the additional, that was the little info pop-up here.
Can we say,
the
make sure the cat is not a raccoon?
Not a, how do you spell raccoon? Is that right? Or was it? I reckon that's right. I was thinking RACC. We're Australian. We don't have raccoons, all right? So give us a break.
But I know that they look like cats.
Okay. So check this out. These are all the different question types we support right now. So you can, as Ashlee said earlier, 2-button, 3-button, 4-button, drop-down variants. We already talked about that. We have date, we have text, we have numbers, and we have photo.
For this one, I'd say it's a 2-button.
2-button question works for me.
I would say, is the cat a cat is either a pass or yes or no question.
Well, do we have a yes or no in our set of responses?
Find out.
We have okay, no we don't. So how about we deal with that? So let's create a new response set, right? And we'll go yes is the first response, no is the second response. We save that response. Now we have a response set yes, no. By the way, folks, this is usable for all other question types now. So this is like saved in the system. There's a lot of reuse with this stuff now.
Yeah, we're not going to make you input it
Yep.
every single time if someone else has already input it elsewhere. It also helps make everything more consistent instead of having, slightly different wording on things.
And in fact, Ashlee hasn't even seen this one because this was only done like a day ago and I did this one. So here's the idea. If you've chosen no, there might be some things you must do. So in a safety scenario, there's certain questions where if you say no, it's like stop work, right? Not all questions are equal. Some questions is literally...
Well, yeah, for this one, I'd say if the cat is not a cat, you should probably just stop, get rid of the cat.
Swap out cat. I'm going to put it in big all caps, right, to do that. Now, at this point, you can save and close, or you could go save and add another. So we'll just save and close. So there's our question. Let's finalize our masterpiece of an audit and save that in. And we will jump back to the audit app and we will test this. Okay, so here we are at the audit app. And
demo for the world, right up there.
And here is the demo for the world. Good call. I thought it was cats. You messed me up with cats. I thought the title had cat in. So we go to the demo for the world audit, and now you can see that, look, process and procedures and cats. Now if I go into this one, there's our questions, right? One of the questions happens to be a mandatory picture question. So let's go and deal with that. Let's just take another company logo will do. Cool. Won't bother marking that up. And we can take more pictures at this point. You can just keep on going. There's your before and after. So very easy to take a series of pictures. We come down and we go, yes, yes, and everything else is happy, lovely. Now let's come to cat 1. Now, is the cat a cat? Pass, fail. Look, info, raccoon, hopefully spelt right.
No, it definitely has 2 C's.
But watch this. If I click fail, firstly, we said mandatory actions. So first we now need to put an action. So do something.
So because we set mandatory actions on fail, basically what happens is, like we see here, once you mark it as a fail, it immediately opens up an action for you. Yep. You don't get the choice whether or not to click it. It just automatically comes up so that you have to do it.
Yep. And you can see we still are being required to take the photo, but you can see that's that swap out cat there that says, hey, this gives the user absolute clarity that for this question, if you fail it, you must do something. And that was the intent. So let's go and grab some other random picture. Let's just grab, I don't know, some of these are on OneDrive, so it's probably OneDrive is going to now pop up and say, I'm downloading. That was a transparent one, I think, or OneDrive just doing its thing. So apologies for that. Slight demo fail.
Not a great choice.
We'll call this one demo fail. It's not like you're going to have a OneDrive problem when you're taking a photo on your phone in the field.
It does. The demo does fall apart slightly as soon as you do it on the computer because you don't see that. Again, the same with how it always has been. With the adding a photo, if you're on the PC, it'll automatically open up your file explorer. If you are on phone, it'll open up that little, you know how at the bottom of your phone it kind of pops up and it says, hey, do you want to use your camera? Do you want to grab something from your photo gallery? Or, if you have any other camera related apps, it'll probably ask for that too. Yep. And you can just choose and say, yes, I want to use my camera, take a photo.
Yep. Okay, so if we click next, there's our media to review. We're happy with that. That's all good. If we come to the next screen, there's our actions. We're happy. We're all good. And now, because we asked for signatures, this is where we sign it, and signed by me. That is so not my signature. But anyway, we can come in there and we now submit that audit. And away we go and back here. So that shows you, literally it took us minutes to create that audit, light it up in the app. Now, meanwhile, that audit's being PDF'd as we speak. So another thing, just really quick, so that you're aware of this, is all users have the ability to see the history of their audits. So if I come in here and go view audit history, you'll find that that one I just did is in the middle of being PDF'd right now. But this one here was the one we did probably 10 minutes ago. So if I click this one, you will see that behind the scenes, Power Automate basically turned all this into a PDF, which is also available for you to have a look at, right? Actually, that was an earlier one I did. But anyway, you get the idea. And basically, so this all gets saved into SharePoint or back against your job. Wherever it goes, the beauty is you get a PDF and you get a, good call. Was it the wrong one?
You didn't look at the observations part, so yeah.
It was observation.
Yeah, so obviously this PDF is generated based on whatever's been sent through the audit. For this one, it's just got this logo at the start. Obviously, you could custom tailor that to your organization. We would custom tailor that to your organization. You just wouldn't have a big red block that says A.
Is that A for Ashlee?
I think that's A for audit.
Oh, okay.
But you can see it does give, the observations. We didn't take any images, so they weren't there. Severity, the action that we chose, and yeah.
Cool. All right. Last thing we're going to do is we're going to have to take this camera off here because I'm going to plug the Samsung into the screen so that we can show a little bit of the mobile experience and some of the offline capabilities.
For example,
to sort of make that real.
Unsubmitted audits.
Yeah, exactly.
Which here you can see it's grayed out because we don't have any. But on mobile, unsubmitted audits are basically any time that you don't have internet, you obviously are not able to submit an audit to send off to the data source. So instead, it's going to ask you to save it, and that will save it locally to your device. So that if you exit the app, close PowerApps, turn off your phone, that sort of thing, when it comes back, when you are back in a place with internet and connection, you have the ability to view your unsubmitted audits there and then send it off.
Yeah. So with that, let's cue one of those dodgy flip effects in the video.
No.
And then we'll do the offline demo.
I hate the flip effects, man.
Okay, folks. You are now looking at my phone in real time using that Microsoft My Phone sort of screen share thing. And the first point I want to show you straight up here is the fact that not only do we save things offline, if your phone crashes or just say you ran out of batteries and just right in the middle of something, it has recovery, similar to how Word documents do their thing. So if you have gone halfway through an audit and you haven't yet submitted it, it will actually come up and say, hey, a partially completed audit was found. Do you want to load it or clear it? In this case, we're going to clear it rather than load it because I want to now show how I can do an offline audit and what the experience looks like when you come back. Okay, so let's do the demo for the world again. I'll click on this one. We will go next. And there's our questions as usual. Now, at this point, I'm going to put the phone onto airplane mode, which means it disconnects from the screen. But rest assured, I'm going to do an audit. I'm going to submit an audit, and then I'm going to reconnect the phone so you can see the effect. All right, here we go. Okay, so we are loading up the app online after I did a airplane mode audit. And the big difference you can see now, if you look to the top right, you will see an unsubmitted with a number on it. So just like every Facebook notification you've ever had, it basically says, hey, you've got some unsubmitted ones. Clicking on this one allows you to then look at all of the unsubmitted ones across the different types of audits you've done. And you can see that was our demo for the world that I just did now. So I could submit it straight up, I could clear it, or if you want to bring it up and view it, because just say you were halfway through or whatever your reason you might want to have a look at it again, you can see there I took 2 photos, okay? And if I go to the next screen, you can see the photos. One of them, that was that cat photo, so Ashlee decided to be a cat for us. And if I click on this one, I can do the markup and actually make you into a cat and give you whiskers and, you know, all of that sort of thing. Bit hard to see on the black, but that's okay. Okay, so that's now been done, and I can click next, and I complete the audit as per normal. I didn't do any actions with this particular one, which is fine. I put in my verification signature, and I'll just put it Dad. Because I'm doing it on my phone, silly me. I'm clicking my keyboard. It's a bit disconcerting to use my phone screen on my PC screen. And this time I submit, and everything is happy. So that is kind of like what the offline experience looks like. So hopefully that gives you a sense of it's got a lot of capabilities to deal with remote scenarios, connected scenarios, different types of audits, quick to be able to create new ones, govern them easily. Quick little last minute thing just on the rest of this audit app. These are all the various audits. So if I wanted to make a change to the one that I did, so if I type in demo in the search, there's demo to the world that we just did. I can pretty much edit it, and you can now see all of the settings and all the questions, so we can make our changes super easy. I can also come in here and add more categories in, and even the categories have the idea of owner. So even though audits have an owner, so too do the categories, because you might have someone that's the head of environment, right? And you might have someone who owns the audit, but the head of environment ultimately is the owner of that whole process area or compliance area. So you can make new categories and you can edit them and all of that sort of thing.
This is outside of a specific audit.
Yes.
So we find personally when we make audits, it's usually, you know, you make the audit itself. Some people prefer putting in all the categories and questions first, and then putting it together afterwards. So there's just the option to, instead of adding a category within the audit, to add the category just outside of the audit.
And this highlights the reuse of this. And in fact, so this here, I think this cat 1 that we were using earlier, if I edit this, I could now put, you know, cat 12. But it's actually going to tell you, wait a second, sunshine, you've actually used this in audits. If you change this category, that category name is going to change in those audits. Are you okay with that? And if you are, no problem. Click save and away you go. So too with the questions themselves. We have the central database of questions. And if you have a look, it shows you how many categories and how many audits that question has been assigned to. And it's the same principle. If you come in here and you decide to change the response type to a different one, then you can see the issue, right? It's going to affect audits. So the system will tell you, hang on a second, if you do this, it will affect other audits. In the not too distant future, we'll have the ability to copy and clone questions so that you can handle scenarios like that where a standard changes and 3 audits you need to reword the question, but one of the audits you don't, you'll be able to go make a copy of that question, use that question in the audit, the one anomalous audit, and then away you go. Yeah. Very flexible.
But you can see we've tried to avoid the situation where you add one question to a bunch of audits and then someone comes in and goes, actually, this one audit, I need the question to be worded slightly differently.
Exactly.
And they click it, and then all of a sudden, everyone else's audits are screwed up. That's not the case with this. With this, it makes it very clear, hey, no, here are the exact audits you are going to be changing if you do this. Make sure that's okay. If it's not, you're going to get in trouble.
Yep. And again, so too with the responses. So for example, these are these question responses, and you can see that one there is a drop-down one because it has lots of values, but there's a 3-button one. So that one's safe at risk NA. It does allow me to come in, and if I want to change those responses, it even tells you, hey, watch out, you're going to impact a question. So designed for reuse, designed for flexibility, and wizard-based creation, and being able to have accountability in the governance of things. So folks, that's basically the Audit app in its current form. We hope that if you've seen some of the early videos from its humble beginnings, some 3 to 4 years ago to where it's come to now, I think for us, this really shows what the platform is truly capable of, and it can scale and it can do some pretty amazing things. Where you're wondering where we're going to take this next, we have a couple of scenarios. This question reuse facilitates the idea of having defined categories with questions like as a template. So you might have, say, ISO 9000 quality management, and you might have a set of questions that relate to quality management that you want to apply to different audits. So you're going to have a scenario where you'll be able to go, new audit, choose this category, and it gets a whole bunch of questions as a template. That's one capability. Another one that we're looking to do is when, for example, an audit category might be an object, like a thing. So just imagine we had a scenario where a company was auditing battery packs in a facility. Now, some facilities would have 2 battery packs, some facilities would have 50 of them. And so the idea of walking in and on the start of the audit saying this site has 2 battery packs, so it gives you 2 sets of questions, one for each of the battery packs. If you say it has 10, you'll get 10 sets of questions. So it facilitates the flexibility of not having to statically define a whole bunch of questions for the largest number that you might expect, and then just have a heap of questions it's hard to report on, and just a whole lot of empty data. There are lots of other things coming. We always get great suggestions from the community and our clients. So if you like this, as I say, please reach out via the mechanism at the bottom of this screen right now.
It's right here.
It's right here. And otherwise, I hope you enjoyed it, and we'll talk to you next time.
Yeah, and if you have any suggestions for things to add to the audit app, let us know in the comments.
Absolutely. All right. See you, folks.
Bye.
Bye.